Since the return to power of the Taliban in Afghanistan, the world's attention has shifted to other global developments, including the challenges being posed by the long COVID-19 pandemic. Yet, for India, the events in Afghanistan continue to demand great attention. There is concern that Afghanistan will provide a regional hub for militants who may carry out jihad on Indian soil. A report.
The conflict landscape of Afghanistan is diverse and multifaceted. It is characterized by rivalries between jihadist groups and competition for recruits. The impacts of such friction go beyond the borders of the war-torn country. That entire geography from the Afghanistan border stretching up to the border of Kashmir is now susceptible to jihadist groups. A Taliban-controlled Afghanistan is posing the threat of exacerbating the volatile situation in Kashmir. Kashmir has a long history of insurgency with roots in Afghanistan in the late 1980s. It was during the USSR Afghanistan Mujahideen conflict that the insurgency in the valley began. At that time, fighters from Afghanistan, along with the Pakistani army, had trained Kashmiri insurgents. When the Taliban took control in the early 1990s, they provided safe havens to Kashmiris who needed to recompose before returning to the insurgents' ranks. Experts do believe that a redux of the Taliban controlling territory and providing shelter to terrorist groups could cause a flare-up of tensions in Kashmir.
You're concerned that defense experts in India are worried that Taliban can allow use of Afghan territory for militants in Kashmir. I think we need to think beyond that. We should not think in defensive terms. We have to destroy entire ecosystem of Islamic radicalism and terrorism, and that is possible if we crush organized crime in this region like drug trafficking, fake currency, and Pakistani deep state has emerged the biggest patron of these things. So I think we need to have a larger strategic picture rather than having this defensive approach.
Another concern for New Delhi is the presence of anti-India groups based in Pakistan that could gain legitimacy from the Taliban's strength and train their focus on India. According to media and intelligence reports, Taliban fighters over the years have been directed by the Pakistani Inter-Services Intelligence Agency to attack Indian infrastructure in Afghanistan. More worrying reports have highlighted that thousands of fighters from Pakistani groups that are active in Kashmir, such as the LAT and JEM, have fought alongside the Taliban. Another concern for India is the presence of transnational terrorist groups such as the Islamic State in the Khorasan province and the Al-Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent. For instance, Al-Qaeda in the Indian subcontinent has already hailed the US withdrawal from Afghanistan as a victory. In early 2021, they changed the name of their magazine from Nawai Afghanistan Jihad, that is Voice of the Afghan Jihad, to Nawai Ghazwatul Hind, which means Voice of the Conquest of India.
If any country which is most vulnerable to Islamic radicalism and Islamic terrorism, it is India. We have been second most impacted country by terrorism for a long time since the turn of this century. But right now, what has happened that America has withdrawn. And all these groups, the very fact that they are stationed here, they are located here, and Pakistani military state or Pakistani deep state is patronizing them. And unfortunately, this Turkey has come up as yet another collaborator of this Pakistani design. So this is extremely worrying. Let me also tell you that, virtually a good number of states who otherwise profess, their commitment to fight terrorism, even those states, those countries have been using terror organizations for their strategic goals.
It is already clear that the Taliban has not gone beyond paying lip service to ousting the Al-Qaeda, and there is concern that the latter will only grow in strength in the coming days. Scrutiny should be heightened until the shock of the Taliban victory subsides and Afghanistan becomes less of an interesting point for jihadist groups. Various lessons need to be picked up from India's own counter-terrorism practices as well as international experiences. This would be paramount if India aims to prevent the first and second order effects of foreign fighters coming from Afghanistan.